Imagine diving into a story so rich with human drama, political intrigue, and just surprising insights into society that it feels as relevant today as it did centuries ago.
That's exactly what we're doing today.
We're embarking on a deep dive into excerpts from Alessandro Manzoni's huge work, I, Promessi Sposi, or The Betrothed.
Yeah, a monumental piece of Italian literature.
Right. And our goal is to sort of pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from this text. We'll explore how individuals navigate things like fear, power, societal upheaval.
And ultimately what it reveals about the enduring human spirit, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of this as your shortcut to being well-informed about a literary masterpiece and its profound observations. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so right from the start, Manzoni introduces us to this character who really embodies the faltering of authority in this world, Don Abbondio. He's a clergyman, but a very reluctant one.
Yeah, and you even feel the narrator grappling with the material, right? That line about the heroic toil of transcribing this story.
It's like a little wink, acknowledging the weight of it all, but it also hints at the struggles ahead for the characters.
Definitely. And Don Abbondio's philosophy, it's fascinatingly self-serving. He's got this bit of bile, apparently, and only lets it out on people who can't fight back.
And his favorite saying.
Oh, it's perfect. To an honest man who minds his own business and stays in his own lane, no bad encounters ever happen. He genuinely believes he can just opt out of trouble.
Which, of course, gets a huge reality check almost immediately.
Right. Don Rodrigo's thugs, the Bravi, show up.
And that threat, it's not subtle. One of them just cuts Don Abbondio off mid-sentence.
Yeah. Well, then he says, if the matter were to be decided by chatter, you would win. We know nothing. Word to the wise. You understand.
Chilling. Just pure naked force.
It completely shatters his illusion of safety. Manzoni really digs into that corrosive fear, how arbitrary power doesn't just oppress, it warps you from the inside out.
And his reaction is pure panic. That dream he has.
Oh yeah, filled with Bravi, Don Rodrigo, Renzo, paths, cliffs, flights, pursuit shouts, gunshots. His own mind becomes a reflection of the chaos and terror.
So if someone like Don Abbondio, who just wants to be left alone, faces this, what hope is there for someone like Renzo, who actually tries to use this system for justice?
Well, Renzo comes in with that sort of youthful optimism, right? That happy haste of a 20-year-old. He thinks the law will help him.
But the law he encounters, it's pretty messed up.
Totally twisted. The lawyer, Dr. Azeka Garbugli, immediately gets the wrong idea. He assumes Renzo's a criminal, a bravo.
Why? Just based on how he looks?
Basically, yeah, because of his haircut. Specifically because he didn't have the chufo, a tuft of hair that, ironically, the official edicts prohibited for criminals.
Wait, so the absence of a criminal sign made him look like a criminal? That makes no sense.
Exactly. It shows how arbitrary and superficial things were. Assumptions rule.
And then it gets even worse somehow.
Oh, yeah. When the doctor figures out Renzo is actually the victim, he completely flips, gets angry, dismisses him.
And says that incredible line.
If you tell lies to the doctor, you see, my boy, you are a fool who will tell the truth to the judge. To the lawyer, one must tell things clearly. It is then our task to muddle them.
Wow. Just openly admitting the whole point is to obscure the truth. He even refuses the payment Renzo brought, those capons.
Yeah. It's a devastating scene. Manzoni isn't just saying justice is flawed. He's showing how the legal system itself is actively perverted to serve the powerful. Those official decrees, the gride, they were useless against the guys they were supposed to control.
But they could certainly trap the innocent.
Precisely. They bound the powerless while the powerful did as they pleased.
So, okay, the law is useless. The church official is terrified. What do desperate people do? Renzo and Lucia try something really bold, right? This surprise wedding.
Yes, the matrimonio a sorpresa. It was this sort of obscure loophole in marriage law back then.
How did it work?
Essentially, if the couple with witnesses could burst in on the priest and say the vows I take you, simultaneously, boom, married, even if the priest wasn't exactly on board.
A last resort, basically, to get around Don Rodrigo's interference.
Exactly. And Agnese, Lucia's mother, she's the pragmatic one pushing for it. Very down-to-earth, maybe a bit manipulative.
Getting Perpetua the housekeeper out of the way by chatting about her poor advice.
Right. Setting the stage for this chaotic attempt. You have Renzo, Lucia, their witnesses, Tonio and Gervaso. They try to rush it.
But Don Abbondio figures it out.
He does, and completely panics, starts yelling, "Perpetua, betrayal, help!" Throws a tablecloth over Lucia's head, apparently.
No way.
Yeah, it's almost slapstick, but the desperation is real. He manages to escape, and the plan just falls apart. Utter chaos.
Highlighting just how stuck they are. Even this clever loophole fails.
It does, and it forces them to flee immediately. Young Menico warns them Don Rodrigo's men are coming for them.
And in that moment of crisis, Lucia reveals something huge to her mother.
Yes, a secret vow she made. She'd already talked to Father Cristoforo about Don Rodrigo harassing her, and in a moment of sheer terror, probably when she was abducted or feared abduction.
She made a vow.
A vow of perpetual virginity to the Madonna, praying for deliverance.
Oh, wow. So getting married to Renzo is now complicated. Very complicated.
Deeply complicated. It adds this huge internal conflict for her, tying her safety to a promise that separates her from Renzo.
Which brings us perfectly to Father Cristoforo. He's such a contrast to Don Abbondio, a real moral force.
Absolutely. And he has this really compelling backstory. He wasn't always a friar.
Right. He was Ludovico, a nobleman.
Yes. And he killed another arrogant nobleman in a duel. A moment of anger and pride that completely changed his life. He chose to become a friar, dedicating himself to humility and serving the poor.
He even says it himself, right? About hating the man he killed.
He does. I hated also the man whom I cordially hated. I killed him. It gives him this profound understanding of sin, pride, and crucially, the need for forgiveness and redemption. That's what drives him.
And that drive leads him to confront Don Rodrigo directly. Bold move.
Incredibly bold. He goes right into the lion's den to Don Rodrigo's house, trying to persuade him to leave Lucia alone.
And it happens during a dinner party, doesn't it?
Yes, which makes it even more dramatic. You've got Don Rodrigo, his cousin Count Natilio, the podesta, the local magistrate, all arguing about these incredibly arcane points of chivalric law.
Like whether you can beat up a messenger.
Exactly. Count Natilio says yes if the messenger doesn't ask permission. The podesta disagrees, citing just gentium, the law of nations, and proverbs like ambassador does not suffer punishment. It's all very self-important posturing.
And into this ridiculous debate steps Father Cristoforo.
And he just cuts through all the noise with the simple, devastating line. My humble opinion would be that there should be neither challenges, nor bearers, nor beatings.
You can imagine the silence. It completely shocked them.
It did. But his boldness has consequences. Count Attilio, furious, plots against him.
Using connections, right, the Count Uncle.
Yeah, a powerful figure in the secret council. Attilio gets the Count Uncle to pull strings with the provincial father, the head of the Capuchin order in the area.
To get Father Cristoforo transferred away?
Exactly. And the Count Uncle agrees, not out of malice towards the friar, but because helping Attilio might help him get a promotion.
So it's all about influence, connections, personal gain.
Yeah.
Even within the church and state structures.
Manzoni is brilliant at showing that, how corruption isn't always loud and obvious. Sometimes it's just quiet maneuvering for advantage built right into the system.
But then we see a different kind of power and a truly startling transformation with the unnamed Lord. This guy sounds terrifying.
Oh, he is. His reputation is immense. His name meant something irresistible, strange, fabulous. He's basically a powerful mercenary, a minister of iniquitous wills, the guy you go to when you need something terrible done, like abducting Lucia, which he does for Don Rodrigo.
But after he has Lucia captive in his castle, something shifts in him.
Dramatically. He experiences this awful solitude, this internal crisis. He feels God's presence. I am, however, he thinks. It's a profound spiritual struggle. He even considers suicide.
And Lucia plays a key role in this.
Her piety, her fear, her pleas, they somehow break through his hardened exterior. His own henchman, the Nibbio, is clearly shaken after guarding her. He describes her crying, praying, becoming white as dead, and certain words.
Her vulnerability reaches him in a way force never could.
Exactly. It leads him to this astonishing moment of confession with Cardinal Federico Borromeo.
Ah, the Cardinal. Tell us about him. He seems like the polar opposite of Don Abbondio or the unnamed Lord initially.
He truly is. Cardinal Federico is depicted as almost saintly, an archbishop completely dedicated to his flock, visiting the sick, avoiding wealth and status. He lived very simply.
Giving most of his income to the poor.
Yes, kept only 600 scutis for himself and his staff, gave the rest away. He's the embodiment of selfless service.
And he founded the Ambrosian Library. That's quite a legacy.
Huge. Gathering knowledge from all over, 30,000 printed volumes, 14,000 manuscripts. He saw learning as vital, another form of charity almost.
And his personal charity was just boundless. embracing sick children.
Even when his attendants were grossed out, telling him to be careful, his response is amazing. They are my souls. Perhaps they will never see my face again, and you don't want me to embrace them. Just pure compassion.
So this is the man the unnamed lord confesses to.
Yes. The unnamed admits everything: Lucia's abduction, her terror, her pleas, the frenzy her prayers induced in him. It's a complete unburdening.
And the cardinal handles Lucia's vow with such wisdom, too.
He does. He recognizes it was made under extreme duress, telling her gently, "You don't know what it is to make a vow. You haven't experienced it." He understands the human reality behind the religious form.
He also confronts Don Abbondio, doesn't he?
Oh, yes. Directly asks him, "Why have you not united in marriage that poor Lucia with her promised groom?" He rebukes him firmly but gently for his cowardice.
Contrasting Don Abbondio's fear with true faith and duty.
Precisely. And the unnamed lord, completing his transformation, gives 100 gold scudi as a dowry for Lucia, wanting to serve her. It's a powerful arc of redemption.
Incredible. But while these intense personal stories are happening, the wider world is descending into chaos. Renzo ends up in Milan during a famine and riots.
Right. And Manzoni captures the psychology of the mob so well. Renzo initially feels a kind of pleasure at the chaos because the normal world has treated him so badly.
Darkly relatable, in a way.
It is, and the mob's fury is terrifying. They're convinced bakers are hoarding grain, causing the bread shortage, the cries of "bread, bread, open," and "hang them, hang them." It's visceral.
And Manzoni notes there are agitators making things worse.
Yes, these cold-blooded types who endeavored to muddy it further, whipping up the crowd for their own ends. It's not just spontaneous anger, it's being manipulated.
We see officials like Chancellor Ferrer trying to calm things down.
Yeah, making promises of bread and justice, even throwing in Spanish phrases to try and connect or perhaps confuse. It's a desperate balancing act.
And Renzo gets caught up in this, has a bit too much wine.
And ends up giving this drunken speech at an inn, which gets him labeled a poeta.
Which doesn't mean poet like we think of it.
No, more like a troublemaker, someone slightly unhinged, railing against the system.
And the innkeeper gets scared. Because of the rules. The gride again.
Exactly. Those edicts required innkeepers to report guests, so fearing trouble, the innkeeper tries to get Renzo arrested.
But he escapes.
Narrowly. Thanks to some confusion and the notary advising the guards to just walk him out casually like 3 gentlemen taking a walk. Another little glimpse of how rules bend and break.
And just when you think things can't get worse, the plague arrives.
Yes. And the official reaction is almost a case study in denial. First, it's no plague, absolutely no. Forbidden to even say the word.
Then they slowly escalate. Pestilential fevers, not true plague.
Until finally they have to admit it. Plague without a doubt. But the delay cost countless lives.
And this denial breeds paranoia, right? The Untori.
Yes, the anointers. People became convinced that sinister figures were spreading the disease deliberately by smearing walls and benches with infectious ointment.
Leading to horrific incidents like that poor old man attacked in church just for dusting a bench.
Terrible. Fear makes people see monsters everywhere.
And then you have the Monadi, the people officially tasked with handling the sick and dead.
And many of them were, as Manzoni puts it, the most abject and wicked subjects. They exploited the situation terribly: robbery, extortion, holding families ransom over their sick relatives or the bodies of their dead.
A complete breakdown of order and decency.
Absolutely. And the lazaretto, the quarantine hospital. It's depicted as hell on earth. Overcrowded, filthy, people crammed 20 or 30 to a tiny cell, lying on putrid and stinking straw. Just unimaginable suffering.
But Renzo survives the plague himself. Miraculously.
He does, and he goes back to Milan, into the heart of this devastation, to find Lucia.
Braving this heavy air, the desolate city, the constant sight of death.
Yeah, the funeral carts. That scene with the mother carefully placing her dead child, Cecilia, onto the cart, saying, "Tonight we too will come to remain always together." It's just heartbreaking, so dignified amidst the horror.
He finds Father Cristoforo again in the Lazaretto. Still working.
Still serving, yes. Though feeling he hasn't done enough, expressing remorse for not having worthily fulfilled such a great ministry. Always humble, always striving.
And Renzo. He's still burning with anger towards Don Rodrigo, right? Wants revenge.
Initially, yes. The rage is still there. But Father Cristoforo gives him this incredibly powerful lesson.
By revealing his own past.
Yes, confessing again about the man he killed out of hatred. "I, who reproved you for a thought, the man whom I cordially hated, I killed. He uses his own sin to teach Renzo about forgiveness,
And then he leaves Renzo to see Don Rodrigo.
who is dying of the plague himself. Unrecognizable, helpless. It's a profound moment. Seeing his enemy like that, it dissolves Renzo's hatred into pity, a lesson in mercy face to face with mortality.
And Father Cristoforo performs one last act for them.
He dissolves Lucia's vow, freeing her to marry Renzo, and he gives them the last piece of the bread of forgiveness he received when he first became a friar.
With that incredible message for their future children.
Keep it. Show it to your children. Tell them to always, always forgive everything, and that they too pray for the poor friar. Just beautiful. A legacy of compassion.
Meanwhile, we get this darkly comic counterpoint with Don Ferrante, Lucia's last mass.
Oh, Don Ferrante. He dies of the plague too, but he dies arguing philosophically that the plague can't exist.
Because it's not a substance or an accident.
Exactly. In rerum natura, he insists, there are only substances and accidents. Contagion doesn't fit either category. Therefore, logically, it is a chimera. He literally argues himself to death against reality.
A perfect, if tragic, example of intellectual arrogance, completely detached from the suffering right in front of him.
A chilling warning about getting lost in abstractions, really.
So, Don Rodrigo is dead. The plague finally recedes. What happens to Renzo and Lucia?
Well, Renzo's banishment is lifted, ironically thanks to a relative of Don Rodrigo's, a marquis, who wants to appear benevolent and maybe acquire Renzo's land chiefly. Don Abbondio helps facilitate this. They return to their village, find their house damaged but standing. Agnes says, this time angels must have guarded it.
But they don't stay there.
No, the memories are too painful. They decide to move away, near Bergamo, where Renzo can work as a silk weaver. A fresh start.
And they find a measure of peace. Prosperity.
Yes, modest prosperity and happiness. But Manzoni doesn't give us a simple fairy tale ending.
Right. That final reflection from the narrator.
Likening life to a sick person lying on a more or less uncomfortable bed. Even when things seem good, new troubles arise. It's never perfect.
So the conclusion is practical, almost.
Very. One should think more of doing good than of being well, and so one would end up being better. Focus on action, on virtue, not just on comfort. That's where true well-being lies. A really profound takeaway.
And there you have it. Our deep dive into Manzoni's I Promessi Sposi. Wow. We've really journeyed through quite a landscape, haven't we? Personal struggles, huge historical events.
Yeah, the complexity of justice, or injustice rather, the power of faith, both genuine and distorted, and just the resilience of ordinary people caught up in it all.
From that corrupt legal system with Ezekiel Garbugli to the terror of the plague, the cowardice of Don Abbondio, the transformation of the unnamed.
And the steadfastness of Father Cristoforo and Cardinal Federigo. It really offers these timeless insights into human nature under extreme pressure. How individual choices, good, bad, fearful, ripple outwards.
It shows how even in the darkest times, like during the plague, or under oppressive power, the human spirit finds ways to endure, to connect, sometimes even to find redemption.
Absolutely. It's a story about suffering, yes, but also very much about hope and forgiveness.
So for you listening, what parts of this deep dive into Manzoni's world really struck a chord with you? Are there themes here that feel particularly relevant right now?
Yeah, and thinking beyond this book, what other classic works do you think hold these kinds of hidden lessons, these enduring insights for our own times? Something to ponder.